You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
We are NerdLanta.
You are now listening to the NerdLanta podcast. Episodes are available on all podcast apps and on the ESO Network. Please visit us online at nerdlanta.com for more info.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to NerdLanta, the podcast about all things nerds and Lanta. I'm Matthew English, here with my co-host, Julie Marateck.
Hey.
Julie. And today we have our very special guest Heather Dobson. Hello, Heather.
Hi there, Matthew. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's warm right now in Georgia. Are you in Georgia? I know you're originally from Georgia, and we'll talk about that in your interview, but do you live in Georgia now?
Yes, I live in Woodstock.
You're in Woodstock. Yeah, no, good. I'm in Alpharetta, so I feel you out in the burbs. It's muggy today. I'm sweating inside the house. That's a warm one. Julie, how are you doing? How's the sweat quotient going?
I have a joke. My little nephew, he's like my doppelganger, and he and I both suffer from the same problem, which is consistent sweaty head, where like our heads are just always really sweaty. And I've always been like that as a kid, like ever since I was a kid. And then he started doing it, and I was like, oh my God, you have my sweaty head. So it's something I'm happy that I passed down, and I don't feel so alone in the world anymore. So basically, to answer your question, it's a sweaty head kind of week. Winter,
spring, summer, or fall. The Marateck's got a sweaty head. I like that. I passed down to my niece, my sister. We were FaceTime the other day, and then she wanted to show me. I have a niece who's 1.5 years old. My sister went into the closet to show me something she'd bought, left my niece unattended for maybe 10 to 15 seconds. Comes back into the main area of her house, and my niece is standing on the glass dining room table. So I passed on to my niece. My niece inherited my thrill-seeking nature.
I like that. I mean, sweaty head's better, but I'll take the thrill.
I agree. Yeah, that's true. Well, other than that, anything exciting happening in your life right now, Julie? I know we always do like a little catch up.
I actually have some exciting news. I am starting a brand new comedy show.
Woo!
Right?
That's exciting.
I know. We haven't been able to say this
or in person.
It's actually going to be in person, which I know to all the folks out there, it's going to be very, very safe. So it's going to be at Ponce City Market. They have an outdoor amphitheater. And so they're going to be doing shows there on Fridays. So I am going to produce a show there called Amped Up, and it will be the first and third Friday between basically the end of August through October. And, we're going to do all the social distancing. I'm going to have a temperature check. You have to wear masks 6 feet apart. And we're going to just have like a fun lineup of comics. I put on the Atlanta comedy page the other day. I don't know if you saw it, Matthew, but I basically was just like this post if you're interested in doing an outdoor comedy show, just to gauge interest. And it was like 60 comics said that they were interested in doing an outdoor show. So
wow, no, I totally would have missed that. I totally missed that.
I know. Obviously you did not like it, and I'm upset about it.
And now we're no longer friends.
And I'm passive aggressively telling you this entire story. Because you didn't like the post. But I am really excited. And I know it's taking a little bit of a chance, but I feel like it's time to, at least do some things outdoors and try to get some comedy back. So
yeah, no, I love this idea. Congratulations. That's so exciting. What a great venue for it. I've been to that amphitheater at the Ponce City Market, and it's beautiful. It's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I can't wait to have you on, and then we can talk about it on the show.
Yay! We'll recap and we'll talk gossip about all the guests who were mean to us or something. I don't know.
All the other comics who were meanies.
If you heckle me at Julie's show, you will be on blast here on NerdLanta. We'll talk about it.
You will be blacklisted on NerdLanta.
I got heckled during a, and people hear the word heckle and they think it's always something negative. It's not. But I did a Zoom show this week and I got heckled during it, and it threw me. Because my friend Nick ran it. Nick, he's a Brooklyn comic. And he had everyone leave their mics on, which was a great idea because then you could hear people laughing, hear applause, and that kind of stuff. But there was one girl I told a slightly morbid joke where the punchline was like, "I'm gonna die," and she was like, "Don't do it," and it made me laugh. And I was like
she felt such a need to get so involved. She was like, "I'm gonna stop you."
Yeah, she's trying to save my life, and I'm like, "It's just a joke. It's just a." So, but it was really silly. It was really fun. And yeah, I that's only my second show since COVID. So I was like rusty. I was like, oh, how do I tell jokes?
I know. And online shows are so weird too. I mean, I think they're great. And I really believe strongly that every comic should try doing an online show because I don't think they're going anywhere. I mean, even with, some shows coming back in Atlanta, like I still feel like online shows are still going to be a thing.
I could get used to it. I could, it was really nice because I was able to keep I work off an outline. I was able to keep, my little Zoom chat up in one window and I had my outline right there on the screen. So I could kind of like maintain eye contact with the camera.
Yeah.
Trying to play to a camera, which is odd. I was like, oh, this is how, it's like when you see someone doing like a dramatic monologue into a camera. I think like Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. Like, it's like, obviously we feel like they're talking to each other because that's editing. But like, no, they were just staring into like this black void and delivering this very powerful monologue. I don't know. It made me really appreciate. Although, and that's a joke I made. My brother goes to acting school and they've now gone to all online classes. And I was like, what are you going to learn about acting from a webcam? I mean, unless you want to get into porn. That's
which he may.
You never know. But he did go back to New York this week. He is back in New York and took him to the airport, said adios. And so
where does he live?
He lives in New York City. So
okay.
So he's back in New York going back to school. They're still starting up. So with the acting classes online. So good for them.
You're like, good for you.
I'm like, that sounds like so much fun. It was really exciting having him here when he was doing his accents class. He decided for his final, they had to choose an accent for their final and then pick a monologue in that accent. He was like, I want to do it like an Irish, maybe Scottish accent, but I don't have like a comedy monologue. I was like, have you ever seen Austin Powers? And then I showed him one of Fat Bastard's monologues.
Wait, had he never seen Austin Powers?
No, he's too young for it.
God, we're so old.
I know, we are so old, aren't we? But so just listening to him walk around and deliver Fat Bastard lines while he was practicing for it was really, really joyful. He also did a monologue by Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium. When they
yeah.
Their lessons on New York accents.
That was really funny.
I wish I could do the accent. It was so funny. But anyway, I was about to attempt it, but it was going to be really bad. So I'm glad I caught myself there. Anyway, that's enough about my brother. This podcast isn't about him. He's not a nerd.
Yeah, whatever, Matthew's brother. Go back to New York.
Matthew's brother. Well, should we get into some nerd news? Speaking of nerdy things.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
And I did want to mention before all of this, just a quick shout out. We wanted to send our love to the people of Beirut. Yes. I don't know if you guys saw the explosion in Beirut. Those videos, I can't stop watching them. It's terrifying and horrifying. And we send our love to the people of Beirut.
Absolutely. I actually have, it's easy to think, oh, well, that's just happening far away, right? And not feel connected to it. But my brother-in-law is actually Lebanese, and he has tons of family in Beirut. And they sent a video of the explosion from their smartphone. And I mean, seeing it like firsthand was terrifying. And I mean, apparently the shockwaves from the explosion were so strong that the shockwaves hit their apartment first and they thought it was an earthquake. And then like 30 seconds later, they heard the blast and like their windows blew out, their locks fell off the doors. They have like no food. They were hiding in a bomb shelter. I mean, so I totally agree. And if, there's so much going on in the world right now, but if you can, I would say if you can donate to the Lebanese Red Cross, that would be that would be great. They're taking donations and they're reputable, and that's what my brother-in-law said to do. So that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I hope everyone listening will do, to donate to the Lebanese Red Cross.
Absolutely. Yeah, we just wanted to make sure we mentioned that we our hearts go out to them. And before we start nerd news in a different kind of update, we have a new nerd news theme song, which we're going to debut tonight, which is from a friend of the show, Jake Cook, of Seal Pup, his band. We had him on a while. I don't remember. I think it was before Julie. I believe you were before you were co-hosting.
I don't think I met him.
Jake Cook. He's a really cool guy. Really, really great guy. And his last album was fantastic. We interviewed him right before it came out. But producer Chris, let's roll it. I'm excited. I haven't heard it yet, so let's hear this new nerd news theme.
Nerd news. Nerd news. It's nerd news time. Excellent.
Oh, that was fun.
Well, if that doesn't bring you back to Wayne's World, I don't know what will.
That's so true. Yes, that's oh my gosh, Julie, you make me laugh so hard. Yes, thank you so much, Jay Cook. We love you so much. Can't wait to have you back on the show. Julie, what you got for nerd news today?
Well, I was checking out the news today and I saw that Star Wars has actually inspired researchers to build an artificial skin that can actually feel things, which is pretty crazy. So, as we all know, as many nerds know, Luke Skywalker had a prosthetic hand. And so that was the inspiration behind this team in Singapore to create prosthetic skin that can actually feel. The technical name for it is asynchronous coated electronic skin. And it uses a network of sensors connected from a single electrical conductor. And so it can be used actually for robots and for hopefully prosthetics. It will feel pain, temperature, shape, texture. So that's pretty wild. I think that's like a really cool breakthrough for, I'm sure all the robots in the world are excited. And then also, obviously, they're all sitting around like, yes, now I can feel things. And then also folks who have prosthetic limbs, I think that'll be amazing for them.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's I'm trying to think of so many applications for this. Like, I would love to use it before I put weird textured food in my mouth. So I know what I'm getting myself into.
Well, I also the way my brain works. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, Heather.
I was going to say, it would be interesting, like the people who have face transplants.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not very
you're
often
so right.
that, like being able to, if they would, or the burn victims whose faces have been burned with acid or something, being able to feel someone touching your face, if you could have that. I don't know.
Oh, you're so right.
Yeah, that was a lovely thought. My first thought was like, wow, sex robots.
Oh, Julie, you've been in quarantine too long.
Literally, you're like,
good.
You're like people with no faces, and I'm like sex robots. So,
and I'm like food in my mouth. Heather's a much better person than we are.
I know.
Is what we've learned.
We're going to hell, Heather. You're not. This conversation just apparently summed us all up. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, 10 minutes in, we've already learned that Heather's a good person. Julie and I are garbage people. And we haven't even started talking about like all the good things Heather has done. Like we just know.
Heather's like, how long is this podcast? I have dinner in the oven I need to get to. Matthew, what's your nerd news?
Well, I just wanted to continue talking about, and I have to tell you, so we talked about TikTok on our last episode, and I'm following this saga closely because now, because I hate TikTok, but I'm fascinated by TikTok, and we talked a lot about that. We maybe talked about it too much last time, and all of my high school age employees at Starbucks started texting me. They're like, we listened to your podcast. You talked about TikTok. Now you have to be on our TikToks. And I'm like, no. But so what is happening now with TikTok, you ask? Well, Microsoft is looking at buying TikTok to prevent it from being banned. That way it would be owned domestically. And then we wouldn't have to worry about TikTok selling or just even giving our data to the Chinese government. Yeah, okay. So let's put this to the floor. What do we think? And also there's some other parts to it too, but just gut instinct, can we trust Microsoft more than the Chinese government?
No. Good word. No.
Says the good person.
Says the good person. It's funny because it's like one of the conspiracy theories I've been hearing about coronavirus is that, you know, Bill Gates wants to microchip us all. Yet no one has said, like, I haven't heard anyone like more skeptical of Microsoft owning TikTok than ByteDance, the Chinese company that owns it now. I don't know. I just think it's really funny that this whole shenanigans, I just don't understand, because they already went through a review through the Committee for Foreign Investment to find out if it could be sold to China. There were issues with it then, and it should always be reevaluated to see, you know, if it's still safe for Americans to have this app. But I don't know. It seems very politically motivated to me, and I don't like that. I don't like censorship of any kind, just about. So it makes me nervous. I don't like it. And then on top of that, what else was I going to say? Now Donald Trump is saying that the federal government, Microsoft, should also pay the federal government for, in a sense, brokering this deal, which is, in my opinion, less of a brokered deal than it is kind of a coerced sale. But Microsoft's stock dropped after that news.
Interesting.
Which I thought was interesting. Yeah, that's not, you know, I don't know how involved he is with the discussions involving, I don't really know which agencies are, if it's still the Committee for Foreign Investment, if they're still involved in this new deal with Microsoft. But if Trump's involved, or if he's just kind of saying that stuff off the cuff, unaware that it's, you know, it has impacts in the real world, which is, you know, just kind of dangerous. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Should TikTok just go away forever? Today Instagram launched very TikTok-esque features, which I thought was great timing. They're already trying to swoop in. The vultures are circling. Heather, are you on TikTok, or do you use TikTok? Do you watch TikTok? What's your opinion on TikTok?
I'm not on TikTok, but my kids, who are 14, and 13, their conversations always start out with, "Mama, there's this guy on TikTok," or "Mama, I got to show you a video on TikTok." And so I've seen enough of the videos, and my thoughts on it come from a political standpoint of, you know, when I look at the demographic of American users on TikTok, it's all very young people. And wasn't it a group of TikTok users, a large group of TikTok users who reserved mass tickets at Trump's first in-person rally in Oklahoma?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Like, we brought that up on our last episode.
Yeah. It's like, are we really wanting to shut down TikTok because China, or because, you know, TikTok is speaking out against the current administration, and the current administration doesn't like it when people are negative about him?
It was suspicious timing. Yeah. And we discussed that last time. Yeah. Because they were already, you know, that the administration was already on different pages about it, where Mike Pompeo had said, "Oh, we're doing it because they're spying." And Trump had said, "We're doing it as punitive measures for coronavirus and the economic toll it's taken." Right. But no one said out loud, you know, this whole thing, but it happened. It was, the timing was so suspicious, but all those reservations for the Tulsa rally, and then no one showed up for him. It had all kind of gone viral, both on TikTok and Twitter, but it was the K-pop fans on TikTok that got the media coverage about it. So it's like, did Trump know what TikTok was before they kind of, you know, pranked him? It's like,
I know.
He's like, well, how can we shut this down? It's just all very suspicious to me. And you know, in the arguments about, you know, it's like TikTok came out and said they don't even store the data in China, which is a false, kind of some false news that every time I see it pop up on my Facebook feed, I'm like, oh, report this as false, because some of the surrogates of the administration has been saying, like, well, they keep all the data in China. They don't. It's all stored in America and in Singapore. So that's the facts of it. The other bit was interesting. That was a cybersecurity specialist came out and said that what TikTok could be used for that could be potentially dangerous is, you know, teenage kids right now are going to grow up, and some of them may want to go into civil service or into intelligence work, and they could save the, you know, hours and hours of video, you know, that these TikTokers are creating, and then blackmail them with it once they become professionals in their 30s, 40s, 50s.
Oh my God.
Like, you're so right, because I'm going to become a diplomat, brokering some high stakes deal with, some foreign country. And then the Chinese government's going to release me doing some dumb TikTok dance.
Right.
That's going to scare me. And I'm like, yeah, people put dumb stuff on the internet all the time. We're not talking about banning people from doing dumb stuff. Like, and so what if someone tries to blackmail with you really screwing up a TikTok dance, or, I don't know. I just think the whole thing is kind of silly. But there was I did hear an interview with a security specialist who said that was a legitimate, he claimed it was a legitimate concern that they would try and, oh no, we just lost, Heather just dropped off our recording.
She was done with us.
Heather's like, I'm done.
I know what it is. Speaking of those teenagers again, they're probably all upstairs playing Fortnite and killing my Wi-Fi. So that's exactly what it is.
Oh, they're jacking up your bandwidth, aren't they?
There you go.
They're watching TikTok.
It's all, yeah, they're all running TikTok. There you go.
Okay, we'll just resume from there. Chris, are you ready for, if I queue up promos, you ready to play them? Yep. Okay. Thanks, Chris. See Chris typing. All right. Okay. And now we're going to take a quick break. Unless, do you guys have anything else to say about TikTok? I think we covered it all. I covered all the news.
It came full circle with
it did.
Heather dropping off. So
Heather's back.
Yeah,
I don't know how much of this is going to make it in, but welcome back, Heather.
Yay!
All right, now
it was the current administration ditching me because I'm spying.
That's exactly. That's where you're the call's coming from inside the house. It's Heather.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break for promos. And then when we come back, we'll have our interview with Heather Dobson.
You have 30 seconds to describe Thunder Talk.
It's pop culture.
With a twist.
It's music.
LGBTQ+.
And comedy.
Well, dark comedy.
It's nerd junk. It's comic books.
Video games.
Conventions.
Yeah, nerd junk.
And social commentary.
It's woke, yo.
Yeah, and nerd junk.
Woke nerd junk.
Thunder Talk is all over the place.
Every place you want to be.
Thunder Talk is a proud member of the ESO Network. Find us at thundertalk.org and download us on all podcast platforms.
What will you do when your child asks?
But we're Saturday morning cartoons.
What, we're Saturday morning cartoons? What's wrong with you?
Or will you handle it the right way?
Sit down, baby girl. Let me introduce you to my friend Mark McCrae.
Join Dan Klink and I on the Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast as we take a unique behind-the-scenes look at the history and dynamics of animation with plenty of laughs along the way.
The Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast is a proud member of the ESO Network.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
You are now listening to the NerdLanta podcast. Please visit us online at nerdlanta.com for all episodes.
We are NerdLanta.
Oh, it's a ghost, spooky ghost, creepy ghost. When will the ghost be free?
Wow,
All right, we're back. That was
we are back.
Awesome.
That was another surprise song from Jay Cook of Seal Pup. Just for you, Heather. Just for you.
That was amazing.
That was fun.
I love that.
It was spooky. I
You should make that your new ringtone.
I should. I totally should. The kids would love it.
Well, thanks for joining us. We're so happy to have you on our podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you guys.
We're so excited to have you.
Yeah, I know I was telling you, Heather, before we started recording that I'm a huge paranormal fan. I love like ghost tours and I believe in ghosts and I don't know, I'm just so fascinated with it. I love scary movies. So I'm super pumped to talk to you. So so there's Paranormal Georgia Investigations, which has the sweetest tagline ever. Welcome to the home of Georgia's caring ghost hunters. Let us ease your fears with fact, not fiction, which is the sweetest tagline ever. And it's about ghosts. I love that. So I get the feeling you obviously want to be approachable, but I just thought it was really cute. And we already established in our podcast that you are actually a very nice person.
Well, thank you. we came up with that tagline because it was a dual reason. The first reason was there's so many, local paranormal groups out there. You go to their websites and it's almost like a Marilyn Manson type website. It's spooky and dark and, this, heavy metal sort of look to it. Like it's an album cover for, Queensryche or something. I don't know. And so we wanted our website to look nice and we wanted to look friendly and seem friendly and professional. And then, Easing Your Fears with Fact, Not Fiction came about because of all the reality shows. Especially Ghost Adventures, bless their hearts, that it was, some of it, there was talk about some of the reality shows faking evidence. And so we wanted people to understand that that's not what we do. We don't fake any evidence. Everything we do is above board and honest.
I love that because, what I imagine is a lot of these stories that people are coming to you with are really personal, whether people are scared or they're intrigued, folks are obviously feeling and hearing something, in their space. And I mean, for some, that must be really scary, and so I guess it's nice that you want to come across not just like a hack,
Exactly. And, we want people to trust us because it's a big step to allow a bunch of strangers into your house with a bunch of equipment to, sometimes spend an evening there. There've been a few times where we've spent the entire night. We've even put out sleeping bags and slept in the person's home. So yeah, there needs to be a level of trust there. And, I want people to be able to feel that trustworthiness when, the first thing they see is our banner on our website. So, yeah.
So Heather, tell me how you got into paranormal investigations and how you got into this line of work.
Well, this is the worst paying job in the world. Nobody makes money doing this. We don't charge for investigations. The only people who really make money doing this are the people who have TV shows who do this. But I got involved in this because I had a lifelong fear and anxiety about death and, questions and issues that religion or platitudes from my parents didn't fix. And so I managed to overcome that anxiety just through a lot of just self-meditation. But then after I had children, it got worse because it wasn't just about my death. It was about their future deaths. And so I decided that in order for me to function, I needed to face that fear head on. And so I found an investigative team and started investigating and having experiences that I couldn't explain. And that really helped cement for me the knowledge that there is something after death, that it's not just an end.
Wow, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's like getting closer to your fear helped cure it. And I love that. That's such a powerful message, I think, for a lot of people, inside of and outside of a fear of death. But that's a very good fear to have in some respects. But when it gets to a limiting, when the anxiety gets so great that it is now inhibiting your life, that's not good. How did you find the paranormal investigation group that you first joined?
It was actually through a ghost tour. I went on a ghost tour in Roswell, and the woman who was running the ghost tour at the time had just started a paranormal investigative group. And she encouraged me to join a group that was all the way out in Lawrenceville. And I was a bit fearful of the drive from my home, not knowing, of course, I was very naive of the fact that, okay, when you investigate the paranormal, you're probably going to be going all over the state and, possibly the region. So, at the time it was like, wow, Lawrenceville, that's a drive. So I contacted her again and she said, well, you're welcome to join my group. We're going to be based out of Roswell. And so I was a part of their group for a year and a half. And then there were several of us who decided to break off and form our own group. And that's how Paranormal Georgia Investigations came about.
Is your group different than the other groups? Is there a differentiator, or is it just some, with folks that you love and really get along with?
It's basically just folks that I get along with. We've become almost like just a family unit, a separate family unit. When you sit in the dark with people and, for those of you who've watched, the reality shows, we do EVP sessions, electronic voice phenomena, and it's when we're recording and we're asking questions, trying to get whatever's there to answer. And in the middle of those EVP sessions, we ask our questions. What's your name? How did you die? Are you a man or a woman? That kind of thing. And then there are periods of quiet, and then there are periods of catching up with one another and getting to know one another and that type of thing. And, we've gone to our, each other's children's birthdays, and, we've held each other's brand new babies, and we've been there when close family members have died and that type of thing. So, it's a second family, and I really trust these people.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a close-knit group. It
Right.
sounds like that's good, and good to do that with people who you can become friends with. Yeah, that is so great. So so you guys are traveling all over the state. What's the farthest you've gone, and where and how did you find the event?
Just outside of Savannah was actually the furthest south that we investigated. The furthest north was a little trailer park in South Carolina. That was interesting because we got there and the client opened their door and pot smoke rolled out. So, so many people ask me, aren't you scared when you investigate the paranormal? And I tell people, the living are more frightening than the dead. We've been in hoarding situations. I investigated a gentleman who was convinced that he was being visited by aliens and took us out to the backyard to show us where the UFOs were landing, and a loaded Glock fell out of his pocket.
You're like, okay.
I was like, yay. I thought I was going to die with this pneumonia I had last week, but now it's going to be this.
It's going to be this. He's got the gun in case the aliens come back. That's all that was for.
And then the house outside of Savannah, it was actually a really large, extensive property that had been in the family for multiple generations. And, it wasn't just the house where the parents lived. It was the house that they'd given their daughter that we investigated. And so that was one of those investigations where we put out the sleeping bags and spent the night at the client's house. So it was fascinating.
There's a hotel in Savannah, actually. I'm sure you know of it, where you can spend the night there. And I really want to do that. And I was actually going to go do it, and then COVID hit. So
is it the Marshall House?
I think it's the Marshall House. Yeah.
Yeah. My husband and I stayed there a few years ago, and my poor husband, we had planned this as a weekend getaway from the kids. And he said, where do you want to stay? Do you want to be on the riverfront in town? And I said, I want to be somewhere where it's haunted. And he was like, okay, I'll make a reservation there and a reservation for me at the Holiday Inn. So,
that's really funny.
Yeah. But nothing happened to us. I was disappointed. He was relieved. So
he was relieved.
Interesting.
The plot. I was just thinking that's like the plot of I would have really thought it was funny if you had made the reservations and not told him it was haunted.
Yeah.
And that's how I thought that story was going. There was a movie a few years ago. And I don't remember, God, what was the name of that actor? And I don't remember the name of the movie either. But it was like a true crime writer moved his wife and his family into the house of a gruesome murder and didn't tell them.
Oh my God.
But he wanted to research the murder.
It's surprise.
Yeah, and then it ends up being a paranormal story because they are living in a murder house. So,
gosh.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail the conversation.
No, I'd love that.
But yeah, no, you should definitely surprise and be like, surprise, we're staying somewhere haunted. I'm
sure you guys have heard of Waverly Hills, the sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've been there a couple of times. And the first time I went, I drugged my husband with me. And, he has that classic receding hairline. And I joked that his eyebrows were all the way back to his hairline the whole night. So when we got
he didn't sleep at all.
When we got done that night, he said, I get why you do this. And I'm glad I went, and I'm done. That was enough.
That's so funny. Tell us some stories. I would love to hear about some stories where you've been able to connect with the beyond. And, I'm always intrigued with it, both in terms of the afterlife and also just the historical nature of the non-living.
Right. The first time I ever saw anything was actually at a mall here in Atlanta. It was one of the anchor stores had gone bankrupt and had shut down, and the security guards kept seeing things and hearing things. And because it was an empty store that they were just using for storage for holiday decorations, they asked us to come in and investigate. And we were in the old children's department, which was now empty, of course, and sitting there in the dark. And there was some ambient light coming in from the parking lot upstairs. And I had my back to a column and I was facing the escalator. And since the escalator was metal, you could hear people tromping down it if they came down. And we were the only group downstairs. And I saw someone walk in front of the escalator, and it was a shadow, and it just appeared, and it was silent as it passed by, and then it disappeared. And, it took a moment for my brain to register what I'd seen. And I, looked at my guy sitting next to me and I said, "Did you just see that?" And he said, "I wondered when you were going to say something." And so it wasn't just me who had seen that. And it was
just you.
Yeah, it was absolutely fascinating. And of course, then we're radioing the other team who's upstairs, seeing if anyone had come down. We're spreading out and searching for somebody who's playing a prank on us, and we're trying to recreate it. And there was enough light that if a living person passed in front of that area, I could see their clothing. I could see their faces. And what I had seen was just absolute inky black.
Wow.
So yeah, that was
what ghost is haunting a mall?
Exactly.
Someone with a return past 90 days.
Yes.
That's who.
That's what it was.
I bought this at Liz Claiborne. I must return it.
You will take it and give me more than store credit. Like
another investigation was at a historic home, one of those old plantation homes in and around Atlanta. And, you like to use era cues. So basically, if you're going to investigate a haunted hospital, well, then put on a doctor's coat and a stethoscope and use medical terminology if you want to stir up something. So since this was a house that was built prior to the Civil War and the people who lived there were, Confederate supporters, of course, I read the Emancipation Proclamation out loud and kind of got in their face about, I'm a Northerner, I'm a damned Yankee and this and that. And I looked up ahead of me at the hallway and I could see a man that hadn't been there going down the hallway wearing period 19th century clothing, turning a corner.
Oh my God.
I went, and there were other members of my team who saw it. And we all went running after it, trying to figure out who is that. There shouldn't be anybody back there. And of course, there was no one there.
Wow.
So evidently, somebody was hightailing it out of the house because they were upset that I was a Yankee.
You're a Yankee and they're in their home.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you consider dressing the part yourself by pulling a Carol Burnett and taking the curtains off the window?
Oh my God.
Went with the wind action.
That would have been amazing. I should have done that, but no, I was in my jeans and t-shirt.
No, that's all good. That's so interesting, though. I didn't. What was the term you used? I'm sorry, I missed it. The
era, ERA, era Q.
Era Q. Oh, I see. That makes sense. Wow, that's so fascinating. That never would have occurred to me that would have.
Yeah.
Been, I feel like the South, it just has such a it's not the same. I grew up in out west, and there's nothing. A lot of I went to New Orleans recently, a city with a very long history. It's like you can't throw a stone without hitting a historic house with a ghost tour in it, and it's just not the. I feel the same way about Savannah. It's a very old city. It's like I grew up in a new city out west. So, yeah, I feel like those era cues are probably important. To evoke a response. That's so interesting.
And yeah, I never thought about that either. That what is it for them? I mean, because you hear of people, not doing that who are experiencing the afterlife. So does it just help it?
I think it does. Like if you talk to a family who, they don't say they don't know what's happening in their home. They don't. They don't know what it could be or who it could be. We will try to do research regarding the history of the property or the history of the home. And we will ask the homeowner, hey, have you had any recent deaths in the family? Or, do you know if your neighbors have had any deaths recently? And so those names we'll try to use and try to bring in information, about previous property owners, homeowners, that kind of thing. So yeah, we try all the time to bring in those types of that type of information to try to get, to elicit a response. But the other thing we do is, we go in with two groups, a control group that knows nothing and except the address, and an experimental group that knows everything. And so the two groups don't talk to one another during the investigations. They investigate separately. And one group is asking generic questions. The other group is asking pointed questions. And if the groups get matching information, matching evidence, then it just validates the experience, the paranormal, activity.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a scientific approach to it.
Right, exactly.
By having a control group. Absolutely.
Right.
Interesting.
So your book, Memoirs of a Future Ghost, came out last year.
Yes, it did.
You've got an upcoming book coming out. Tell us about Recollections of a Future Ghost.
Well, when I wrote Memoirs, I was worried about it not being big enough. And when I sent it off to my editor, and I kept stalling because I have a healthy dose of imposter syndrome. And so finally he said, you could break this up into 2 books. And my husband, who is a big Star Wars geek, said, oh, well, you could be like the George Lucas of the paranormal and have a trilogy. And I, it's like,
if it's not a trilogy, does it even count? I don't.
So Recollections of a Future Ghost is actually the second part of Memoirs. It's what I had written originally. Now, I had assumed that I would already have Recollections released or be releasing it this month, or at least before Dragon Con, Labor Day weekend. But of course, COVID-19 has changed a lot of plans. It's hard to have a book event, a book release, a signing when we're all trying to social distance. I am hoping that Recollections will be out by Christmas now. That's my goal, is to have it out by then. So, hopefully by Christmas we can all get together and, do book signings and meet and greets and that type of thing. If not, that's okay. I'll still release it by Christmas, but that's my goal, is a Christmas release date.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And so it's just kind of part 2 to Memoirs of a Future Ghost.
Right.
What inspired you to write, to capture your experiences in a book?
I wanted people to see the real side of investigating the paranormal because, like I mentioned, sometimes the living are more frightening than the dead. But, I've realized that investigating the paranormal is a lot about the psychology of the living, how we perceive the paranormal, just not being scared of it. Actually, so many people here in the South, how they were raised is, that everything that can't be explained is demonic, is evil. And of course, paranormal reality shows haven't helped that because negativity sells. And I just wanted people to see that it's not about that. It's about our perceptions of it. And we really need to calm down about it, because when you think about how many people in living history have lived and died on this planet, it's a wonder that not every square inch isn't haunted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I wanted people to see what it was really like, the funny stuff, the sad stuff, the scientific stuff, because I have a background in physics. So I also want to bring some logic and some science into this of, trying to explain that, maybe this is quantum physics that we're looking at. Maybe this is multiple quantum universes. Maybe this is quantum entanglement. Maybe this is something else. So, we'll see. I just wanted people to see the real side of investigating.
I love that. Where do you think we go when we die?
I have a feeling that there is reincarnation. I also have a feeling, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Akashic records, where it's basically like our consciousness is almost uploaded, for lack of a better term, to a mass consciousness, which is almost like a library of information, and that we get recycled back. I know. Have you guys read The Martian by Andy Weir?
Mm-mm.
It's the book that the movie is based off of.
Yeah.
With Matt Damon. Well, he wrote a short story called The Egg, and it's actually, you can read it for free on the internet. Just search The Egg by Andy Weir. And when I first read that short story, it was crazy, because I thought, he got in my head and he basically wrote my religion, or what I think happens when you die. And so how do I reconcile that with paranormal activity? I don't know. That's the great question, is how does that happen? How does paranormal activity happen if we all pass on? So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, do you think, they say that sometimes ghosts stay back because they have something unresolved?
Right. And, it could be unresolved. It could be, maybe they want to stick around because, I don't know. I love my kids. I absolutely love them. And I don't think I want to leave them when I'm dead. They're funny. They're, I kind of want to watch them grow and have children of their own and families and lives and, and be there when they slip away and see them again. So, in the afterlife. So I don't, I can see that. I can see that being a reason to stick around.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope they don't think that's creepy. I'm not going to let my kids listen to this. They're going to be like, Mom.
They're not going to think it's creepy at all. No, they're going to be like, my mom loves me so much that she will haunt the shit out of me forever. I love
I was going to say, you want to stick around to see the future of TikTok. You're like, where is this going to be in 100 years?
Yeah. Well,
I cannot leave.
That and humanity colonizing Mars, but anyway.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Heather, we do cover a lot of pop culture topics here on the show. So I have to ask,
yes,
whether it's accurate or not, do you have a favorite movie about ghosts?
Oh.
And also, follow-up question, have you ever, just as a joke, turned to a client and said, "You in danger, girl," like Whoopi Goldberg?
or
that would be funny for me.
Or I ain't afraid no ghosts, and then just walk off.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. I guess I have two favorite ghost movies. Ghostbusters, the original, because oh my gosh, how can you not love Ghostbusters? Dan Aykroyd, all that. And what's really cute is that whenever my kids hear the Ghostbusters song, who are you going to call? And they shout, "My mom."
That's pretty epic.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. My other favorite ghost movie, and it's not really a ghost movie, but I just love it because, it scared the crap out of me the first time I watched it. And now I actually kind of giggle when I watch it, which I don't know what that says about me. The Exorcist. I love The Exorcist. Like, oh my gosh, that movie gave me nightmares as a teenager. And
have you heard about the curse of that movie? How people died on set during the making? Yeah. So that's double edged. You love the movie, and then also that would be an interesting
I know.
place for you to go investigate. But I'm sorry, I believe I cut you off as you were finishing. You said it scared you as a teenager.
I was just going to say, and we've been lucky in all the years that we've investigated that we've never encountered anything that the Catholic Church would consider exorcism worthy. There have been a few times when I've looked at clients and I'm like, whoa, you've got some mental health issues that, need assistance, that, medical assistance, but, nothing like that. So thankfully that's just on the big screen for me.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's like you live out so many of these awesome movies. And I know these movies are just, dramatized, but I mean,
I've heard my name spoken. I've been touched. I've felt my hair being touched. I've seen things. I've smelled things. When the Titanic exhibit was at the Georgia Aquarium, they asked us to come in and investigate because the volunteers and the employees were having experiences. And I smelled men's cologne. And what was interesting about that is we were in a portion of the exhibit with all personal items from people who'd been on the ship. And I was in a room full of women. There were 5 of us females investigating, and I smelled, how men are, you guys, Matthew, when you guys put on your cologne, your aftershave, that kind of thing, like I can put that stuff on and I'm not going to smell the same as a man wearing it. And it was a man walking by. It was amazing.
Wow. That's so weird.
So, yeah.
That's so exciting. And that's what a cool opportunities you've been afforded to come in. It's like you're being invited to go see the Titanic exhibit. That seems like just such or to investigate it. Excuse me. What a rich experience that is, because there's got to be just a lot of. Speaking of people with unfinished business or who are unwilling to go. It's like, yes, look at that event in and of itself. All those people were gone too early. And so
exactly.
what a tragic accident. Do you find that places where like that, like an accident has happened, where it's people who've maybe gone before, or what we would consider early, like, when just anytime someone's suddenly gone, do you find that there's more paranormal activities around those kinds of circumstances? Or I find like there's got to be some sort of differentiation between, it's like a tragedy like that, and then, like some going to like a hospital,
right.
Where what am I trying to say? Like old people passing away.
Right.
That's more expected. Yeah. They probably, hopefully they've settled a lot of their business. They lived a good life.
Exactly.
Yeah,
no, I have not investigated places that have had tragic accidents. I mean, probably the Titanic exhibit is the only place I can think of, the only, instance I can think of with anything tragic happening. Now, I honestly don't know if it's someone who has unfinished business who is haunting it, so to speak, or if it's our perceptions. Like, for example, if you have someone whose family member died in a tragic accident, is it really that family member who's haunting the location, or is it the person who's still alive who is almost wishing them into existence, if that makes sense?
Yes, that does make sense.
Yeah, almost like a tulpa or a thought form. Are they?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not. Yeah, I don't know what I'm not sure what the line is delineating that, but I think that's a mix of the two. Sometimes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a period of time that you wish you could go back to, or like a relative that you wish you could connect with?
My father. He died 21 years ago, and there have been a couple of times in my life when I've felt him nearby. Probably the one time I remember is about 5-6 years ago. My depression had gotten out of control. I was having a lot of anxiety. And I finally broke down and went to my doctor and said, okay, it's generalized depression, anxiety. I know what it is. We need to work on this. And so she put me on medication, but of course, until it kicked in, I needed a stopgap. And so I took that fast acting medication and went home and laid down on the bed. And I actually felt fingers brush my forehead. I was wide awake watching TV, and there was no one else in the house. And it felt like my father. And so that's happened a couple of times, but that was the most recent and needed moment that I've had.
That's interesting.
He's looking out for you.
Yeah.
And why do you think it? I wonder that. Like, why can you connect with, someone from the 1800s in a mental institution, but yet your own father? I mean, do you feel like that's coming from the person in the afterlife? I ask because my grandmother passed away a couple years ago, and she and I were really close. I mean, just like as close as you could be. And I always felt like I would feel her more when she passed away, but I really haven't had any connections or any signs or anything like that. I just kind of wonder if like I'm not ready to let that in, or if it's just, she's not there.
I don't know. I sometimes wonder because I am not sensitive at all to anything paranormal. I jokingly tell my team I'm a rock. I'm a gray rock. I don't sense anything. I don't feel anything. I'm not psychic. I'm nothing like that. So when they're all, oh gosh, there's a guy in khakis and he's standing across from you and he's really grumpy, I'm like, okay, whatever. And I honestly think it's because I'm a little bit of a control freak. And so I think for example, in that moment of lying on the bed and just being at my absolute wit's end, at the end of my rope, plus I'd just taken a nice little dose of Klonopin. I think some of that control was broken down for me. Now, and I know too, talking about tulpas and thought forms, I think places like Waverly Hills or the Queen Mary that seems so incredibly haunted. So you had a large quantity of people there who were dying, who were sick and dying, but also how much of that are we creating because we want it to be haunted? And you have investigators and the general public going and visiting these places looking for ghosts. And so are we creating that energy ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
So, I do wonder of, if more people were coming to my house trying to make contact with my father besides just me, would he make contact, or would it just be us willing a thought form into existence? I don't know.
Yeah, right. Energy begets energy. So the more energy you have, is that more energy that you create.
Exactly.
Wow. I have one more question. I know we have like coming to the end. My mom thinks that her office is haunted. And so if somebody ever wanted to get you all to come out, how does somebody do that? If someone's listening, how do they contact you all to get a reading?
Well, currently right now we're not investigating just because of COVID-19. But once everything calms down and the pandemic is, put back in its place sooner rather than later, the best way is to email us at pgiboard@gmail.com. And you can visit us at paranormalgeorgia.com, and our email address is there on the right side of the website on the sidebar. You can even email me, heather@afutureghost.com, and I'll get the email and we can, set up an investigation. But hopefully that will happen by the end of the year, I would hope, if not before.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Heather's asking for investigations for Christmas. That's what.
That's what I want. Can we have a vaccine for Christmas? That's what I want Santa to bring.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for being with us. I feel like I want to talk to you for another hour. You were so interesting and so fascinating, and a good person, as we've
uncovered.
Clear throughout.
Not just interesting, but nice.
And well, thanks for having me. Thanks for putting up with all of my technical difficulties. I appreciate it.
Oh no, it's the era of Miss Rona.
Yeah.
We've been doing these online recordings for months now, and every time it's a new technical fun time. Yeah. So we're used to it. But thank you so much for having us, or for being with us.
Yes,
and so people can find you online at afutureghost.com.
Yes.
And they should get your book, Memoirs of a Future Ghost, which is on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And keep an eye out for Recollections of a Future Ghost.
Yes, and I will. And I'm on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, and so I will definitely be putting out updates about when Recollections comes out and when and where you can purchase it. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I had so much fun talking to you, and like Matthew said, I could talk to you for another hour or more. So hours.
I vote we go out for coffee when this pandemic is over with.
Yeah, so that would be so fun.
Yes. All about that.
Yeah,
I'm drinking coffee now, in fact, and it is 9:00 at night. So.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.